Get going. 5-3.
I saw that. I took it. I just don't know if I put it somewhere. I've never missed a day. Tomorrow will be
I am not going to wait an extra 5 or 10 minutes for you to finish because you were blabbing or didn't even have your book out until 12:15. Come on now. Come in, do the thing. Anyone still going? No one? Okay. This stuff tastes different than the 20 ounces. I made a face. Bailey looked at me weird. Okay. So today, review quiz. Leave your books like normal. I'm going to try to go through them during Spartan time. No guarantees on when I will ever get to the quizzes. Like, I don't have any time specifically in the next, like, 3-4 days that I know I'll be able to get to them. But just to let you know, go through the books as best I can during Spartan time. No guarantees when I get the quiz done. Okay? So, but try and do it as quickly as possible. Hopefully I'd have enough time tomorrow while Precalc is quizzing, but here's open. First stop on the factor train is always what? Never mind. Greatest common factor. Sorry, I couldn't hear you with your fist in your mouth. Dude, buddy, are you teething too? Do you need to feel better, Juice? Or should we get you a Chewy? Okay. So I'm going to take out an x squared, and I'm left with 64x cubed minus 1. And we say, it's a difference of cubes. So I need the special form. To get the special form, I'm going to need to identify that A is 4x and B is 1. This is A cubed minus B cubed. So I will use the A cubed minus B cubed form. Turning this into x squared 4x minus 1 a squared, so 16x squared, a times b, so 4x, b squared. You know that something's gone wrong when you got Maria already mouthing cursing words back there. Oh, I hear everything. All right, once I'm there, that's as far as I can take it with factoring. I now have to solve them with individual skills. Here, I've got x equals 0. Here, I've got x equals 1/4. We're all cool with me just jumping straight there on those, the linear ones? The other one is my irreducible quadratic. I will have imaginary zeros. I can't find them right now doing this. So by show of pause, who went for complete the square? That's what I thought. I tell you, kid, as soon as you start giving kids the option, they'll go to quadratic formula, and then I gotta teach you again how to complete the square in Precalc, even though you should already know how to do it. You've done it in 2 different classes. Okay, so I'm going to set up x is negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And we're going to plug in there. A, B, and C are 4, 4, 16, 16, and 1. So I get x is negative 4 plus minus. Okay, you notice how 16 is a perfect square? Instead of doing 16 minus 48 is negative 32 and then simplifying negative 32, there's a trick to this. 1 16 minus 4 16s is 3 16s. Take out your square root of 16 is 4. It's a handy trick whenever you see perfect squares happening in there. It can help you to simplify on the fly like that. Because this is going to be the square root of a negative 48, which is the square root of negative 1 by 16 by 3. What I'm saying is, if I have a 16 minus 4 16s, it's negative 3 16s. Distribution. And then take out your 4, take out your I, got a square root of 3, all over 32. So finish it off and say x is also, separate your real friends from your imaginary friends and reduce, negative 1/8 plus or minus root of 3 over 8 I. Okay. Now, the most common error that I'm going to see in here is someone did everything right, but then they just goofed this formula. They said plus here, minus there. That changes this to a negative, and it changes that sign right there. That's it. Okay. Right? Yeah, because the b squared is always going to be... That's it. That's all it'll change. So, stage 1. Did you factor out your greatest common factor? Stage 2, did you correctly identify your a and b? Because that seemed to be an issue the other day. Stage 3, did you get all the way to the fully factored form? F's in math. Then, did you get the real answers, the work to get the imaginary answers? So you notice again, I've got more of the emphasis on the work as opposed to the answer. Yes, sir? Question.
I'm a little confused.
We're confuzzled?
I just got lost right here. Did I just simplify wrong?
Yep. Your square root of 48. I think you just went half of 16.
I use these.
You use that. Every pair you circle, 1 comes out.
Oh, and okay.
It takes 2 of them to rush the guard. Hi. Where? Oh, yeah. There are 2 of them, but because it doesn't ask for multiplicity, I don't have to say that. If you had said 0 multiplicity 2 or 0 sub 2, cool. You don't have to. No. If I'm just asking for the zeros, for the solutions, I don't have to. The only time I ever have to do that is when asked for multiplicity. That's a good question. I like that. Oh, because Because the form is if it's a cubed minus b cubed. Like, the form already has the negative baked in. So just 1, not negative 1. Okay. Anything else? All right. I'm curious about a thing. Before I don't even know that I want to bring up the book here. Math department yesterday, early. Okay, you all know that when there's early release, that isn't like time for us to work. That's not time for teachers to do chair races in the hallways. We're stuck in some boring meetings. We got to meet with a textbook publisher talking about different programs for next year. The books that we're in right now showed up the same year I did. This is the 7th year the school has been using them, so they are actually 2 years overdue for replacement. The publisher we were talking to was from Pearson, who actually does our book. They just have a new series. How many of you actually use the online textbook?
I tried to this word.
Right?
It's so
And who says, screw it, I'm just going to do a physical book? Okay. That's what we were trying to get across to them, is you have to click so many things to get to where you want to go. Why can't you just say eText, a box is at the bottom that I can type in 109, page 109, and it doesn't do that. And that's something that's really frustrated the math teachers for years. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from kids. It's not that you don't want to use an e-textbook, it's more cumbersome than pulling out the 10-pound monster from your bag and going through that. That's how we feel as teachers. I wanted to hear from you. Like, is that the reason you don't use it? Or is it more just a preference to physically have it in front of you?
Kind of a little bit both.
A little bit of both? That I say that because I'm annoyed at the fact that I'm about to ask, are there any questions? And I didn't already open the 6 tabs to get my book up. So, thank you for the feedback. I shall pass it on. Are there any questions?
Cancel reload.
It's one that it's not even
Hashtag cancel.
You can just tell me what the problem is.
well, I write it down. But it's
Which one is it? I don't have it right now.
well, like I don't write like the whole thing. I have like
No space. Which one is it?
no, I don't write down my
43. 43.
Yeah, 43.
81x cubed. 81x cubed minus 190x equals 0.
No, but why was it in the book it's 192 with the
He sent out a reminder.
Yeah, I was confused.
I sent that out on Remind. The teacher's edition of this says 190x. That's why I assigned it. I did not know until someone sent me a picture of it asking for, hey, how do I do this? That it's just completely missing the X in the teacher's or the student edition. Okay. Now, with this here, factor out X, difference of squares. Ta-da!
That's it?
Yeah. That's it. Like, that was the intent. Now, you can do it if you can do it. It's not fun. If that X is not there. If that X is not there, you have to, well, A, you gotta know, this is so gross. You have to know how to do radicals from back in Algebra 1, which we review in Chapter 6. That A is the cube root of this thing. Well, 81 is not a perfect cube. So you write it as the cube root of 81x. B is the cube root of 190. And then you shove those in the formula. But then along the way in the formula, you also have to simplify. Now, what's even better, when I plug that into the formula, the quadratic part of it is this thing squared. It doesn't just become this. It becomes this squared. So now it's 81 squared cube root of x squared plus cube root of 81 times 190, whatever the crap that is, x plus cube root of 190 squared. That's your quadratic. And then you have to plug those numbers into the quadratic formula. You're never doing that.
We still got the same.
I mean, you can do it. It would be like a challenge problem at the end of Chapter 6. But I have never done that in my class. I have never done that in Precalc. Well, I take that back. I might throw like a challenge problem out there and just say, first one to get me the real answer in simplified radical notation gets Pop-Tart tomorrow. I might do something like that, but, and no, photo math ain't doing this for you. Okay? So, that's why you needed that x there, so you didn't have to go to this and plug those numbers into the quadratic formula. So that was purely a typo in the book. Besides that, you can't go from Algebra 2 to business math. No.
You can't?
No, when we first created business math, the idea, the stipulation was going to be, is for kids who have finished geometry, need their junior math, are not ready or capable of taking Algebra 2. So they will go take business math. Kids who... No. Like, business math isn't going to get you your... it's not going to get you your fourth math for the scholarship or anything like that. It won't. Like, it's not coded as a class that will get you there. No, it's a math class, but it's counted as a math elective for the juniors who have to take a math class. So, are you junior or sophomore? Then next year, after Algebra 2, you're either stuck taking Precalc, you take Algebra 2 again for a grade replacement, or you have a good enough GPA or ACT score to do college algebra instead. This is actually a really good topic, so y'all know. This is why, starting last year, or 2 years ago, all Algebra Half and Algebra 1 have moved to an every other day year long. Before that, every math class in the entire school was every day for a semester. It allowed a kid to come in as a freshman and do Algebra Half and Algebra 1, Geometry and Algebra 2 as a sophomore. They would still be able to do Precalc and Trig as a junior, and then all the way through Calc as a senior, because there were some parents 15 years ago that had a big hissy fit about my kid came in at Algebra Half, so they will never be able to get through calculus. To which we want to tell them they weren't gonna anyway. But They had a hissy fit about it, so they did this so that kids could double up and accelerate through math. The problem with it is kids come in as a freshman in geometry. They would take geometry and algebra 2 as freshmen. They would come into pre-calc as a first semester sophomore and just purely not be mature enough to handle it. They would have the first B or C of their life and have an emotional breakdown because, God forbid, you have something other than an A because parents put unhealthy expectations on their kids. They would do trig they do pre-calc and trig as sophomores. By the middle of your junior year, you have finished calc, you have a year and a half left of high school, and no math left here. It forces a couple of things. A, you now have to take college credit classes like Calc 1, dual credit, Calc 2, Calc 3. You have to take college calc and stats dual credit, or you just don't have math for a year and a half, go to college and just get by life. Or you would have those kids who would come in and they would take Algebra 1 and Geometry as freshmen. How many of you got through Geometry as freshmen? Okay. Then their sophomore year, Algebra 2 Precalc. Then their junior year, Trig Calc. Oh wait, I ran out of math. You're forced into situations where you have to take upper level dual credit college Calc 2, or you just run out of math. And then if you run out of math, you do poorly on ACTs your senior year if you try to retake them, or you do horribly when you get into your math classes as a freshman. So, another reason, as you are finding out right now, is that we require all juniors to take a math class. Because it's shown to drastically improve your performance on standardized assessments like Smarter Balance and ACT. Smarter Balance is useless. I will go on record as saying, well, they just don't call it Smarter Balance anymore. It's still Smarter Balance, but now they're calling it the South Dakota State Assessment. It's the same thing. It's literally the same company. South Dakota re-signed the contract last year. Mr. Morford did lobby very, very heavily to do the Nebraska route and ditch Smarter Balance, use that money to just pay for all juniors to take the ACT. Because kids would have actually tried. But what you're discovering is, since you have to take a math as a junior, what happens when you already go through Algebra 2 as a sophomore? You are now forced to take pre-calc or college algebra. And if your GPA or your ACT score is not good enough for dual credit, you can't take college algebra, which is the easier course. You have to take pre-calc, which is the harder course, which is completely counterintuitive. To take dual credit, I think you have to have something, what is it, like 3.2? Yeah. To do dual credit of any kind. Yeah. Oh, and another thing, if you want this Regent Scholarship or the Opportunity Scholarship, you have to have 4 years of math, Algebra 1 and above. That is Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Precalc. The kids who opt to not take Precalc and instead do college algebra, we don't have enough teachers telling kids, you don't get out of it by just doing college algebra. You have to take college algebra and college stats. You have to do 2 college classes to match with taking Precalc.
Little did you know you had to take 5 classes.
Yeah. Now, since this is a topic of discussion, Since we seem to be going down this road, we've got more than enough. I timed the test. Okay, there's you. That's your class.
Is that the best you've had this? I'm the one.
The red does not exist because that kid turned in their test.
That was me.
Okay, so the red is no longer red. Okay. Everything that I do in here is what I do in all of my classes. I give the exact same support to every class, regardless of what they are. For every one of you who have heard that I am the destroyer of GPAs, I ruin everything, blah, 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 this is pre-calc right now.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Y'all, the people who were in pre-calc before, 2 years ago, I had a completely different assessment model. Now I just open up the floodgates and say, we're going to do a quiz every couple of days instead of a big unit test. I want to reduce your stress. Open notes, open everything. I want to reduce your stress. The goal was to reduce stress. And look at that, when you try to reduce student stress levels, they do better. This is how pre-calc has been running for the last year and a half. Don't be afraid of pre-calc. Okay? Now, what I do tell everyone, though, is it is past college algebra. If you're going to come up to pre-calc, you have to know Algebra 2. We review all of Chapter 4 that we just got through, we review that in a day and a half. Because it's expected that you know that coming into the class. Everything that we're doing now in Chapter 5, we review within about 4 days. And then take it further, too. Like, you got to know what you're doing. What I tell kids, whatever you had in Algebra 2, if you want the same grade in pre-calc, you have to do more. You cannot do what you did in Algebra 2 and get the same grade in pre-calc. You have to do more. Not blood, sweat, and tears math, just maybe ask a question on Remind 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe pop in the morning and ask me a question. God forbid, come in during Spartan time, even if you're allowed to leave, and do 2 problems with me. That's it. That's the difference between getting the A again or not.
Do we have a big semester test for this class?
I am completely changing my final for this year as opposed to the one that I've always done. I have no idea what I'm going to make it look like. I know it's not going to be what it used to be.
Will we review in class?
Yes. We will, if we have time. If we have time. We might only get 1 or 2 days of review. I will give you your review before the holiday break. So you will have 3 weeks with which to review before we get to it. Whether you do or not, it's on you. Open all of it. No.
How does that work for finals? Like, do we have
You have to come in for 2 finals.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
You're here every day, so you're here during Maroon 3 and White 2 finals.
Okay, so we have like.
No, you're here for both of them. Because we need both of those days to go through everything that we went through. So part A, part B. Yeah. So that was a. Now that we're there, review. You'll have time. I just speed run the quiz, and it's going to take most people in this room under 24 minutes. Why is this not? Because I'm going from the wrong side. 2, 3. 3 potatoes, ha ha ha. 2 potatoes, ha ha. Oh no. Someone, no, someone touched my pile. Someone touched my pile. This is why I hate having shared spaces with other teachers. Someone touched my pile as it came off of the printer. Review, review, review. No. Oh well.
He's gonna need that same one back.
Y'all got erasers? Oh, it collated them. That's why.
It's like right because there's like the pendant like over there.
Then we send them down for whoever doesn't have them. Let's try that again. Who needs a review? You need a review. You need a review. You need a review. Need a review. Need a review. You, there's a graph on it. You got a review. You got a review. You got a review. Does everyone have review? Is there anyone who not has a review? You do not have a review. This infuriates and discombobulates me. All right. Solving systems. Most of you were about either elimination or substitution. So if y equals that stuff, replace y with that stuff. Get everyone to one side of the bus. If I have 2x squared plus 3x minus 7 is 3x squared minus x minus 4, we subtract 2x squared, subtract 3x, add 7, equals 0. So I'm actually going to move it over here. Factor and solve, right? Well, factors of 3 add up to negative 4. So set both equal to 0 and get x's 3 and 1. I got x equals number. I win. Or, what? The scribble is a really big one because I wrote 3 twice. Because now I'm frustrated. So if I know that x is 3 and 1, remember the solution to these is here's a parabola, here's a parabola. I need to know where they cross. So I need to find the y's to go with the x's for those coordinates. Either one works, it doesn't matter. So maybe I say 3 things squared minus thing minus 4, and 3 things squared minus thing minus 4. Plug in. I know a 3, and I know a 1. Here I get 9, 3 squared is 9, times 3 is 27. 27 minus 3 minus 4 is 20. 1 squared is 1, times 3 is 3. 3 minus 1 minus 4 is negative 2. So you pair those together and you get your final answer. 3 with a 20 and 1 with a negative 2. Now, look at the quadratic I got right there. I remember when we first did this, there was some debate. Can't I just negate? Negate this, negate this, negate this, negate that. And then I'll have 0 is 1x squared minus 4x plus 3.
Do we have to use substitution now, or is that what it says? Solve substitution.
I'm going to say use either. Okay? Whatever your jam is. Basically, if I remember right, I copied the directions off of old quizzes, or the review from old review. I had said substitution because I had a class that was adamant about using the calculator. Like they would calculate the two parabolas and then find the intersection. You can use that to check your answer, but I want you to algebraically find it. So, oh, okay. Way to go, Ryder. Okay.
How's that negative 2?
What is negative 2?
When you put the 1 in
3 minus 1 is 2. 2 minus 4 is negative 2.
square root. 1 square root.
1 squared.
1 squared is 1. Oh, I thought you multiplied.
PEMDAS, please execute my deranged adolescent sister. Parentheses come before exponents.
That was a good question. I'd say
No, that was a solid question. This is not clicking for me. I'm going to ask to clarify it. No one will ever be punished for that. Okay. Graph the solution to the system of inequalities. How do I graph the first one? Honestly, if you want to just dump them both in the calculator and get the table of points, go for it. I should know what the parent graph of x squared is, though. Vertex is at 0, perfect square steps. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, negative 1 squared is 1, negative 2 squared is also 4. Solid or dotted parabola. Will this one be shaded up or down, inside or outside the parabola? Y is greater than the parabola. So I'm going to put a couple little traffic controller arrows saying go this way. Okay. Do the same thing again for the next one. Now it's negative x squared plus 1. Where's my vertex?
up 1.
Right? Vertical translation. It's in the K spot, not grouped with x. And because it's a negative x squared,
Goes down.
it's a sad parabola. So we're going to go over 1 down 1, over 2 down 4. Mirror across an axis of symmetry, solid or dotted. And if that one says y is less than the parabola, we shade downward. So where are both of these going to be happy?
Right there.
Right here, Chief Benja says, my teardrop. Okay. What are some notes that you can write to yourself to not do the dumb? Okay. Check the signs for the direction. Solid or dotted. You don't want to get that one wrong. Oops. Graph it however you're going to graph it. If you know how to factor and find zeros, if you know how to find y-intercept by plugging 0 in for x, if you know how to find vertex form, If you just say screw it and dump it in the calculator, I don't care. You need to be able to graph the parabola. Please put points on there. Don't just wing it. I will tell you that on any graph that I put in this space, you are going to be able to fit 5 points. Don't just put 3 and then make a kind of V thing. Bad. All right? So, simplify the expression, classify by degree and number of terms. To simplify an expression, I'm going to perform whatever operations are there. In this case, why would I do that if I'm just subtracting 2 polynomials? Little -1 there, right? So this is 11x to the 4th plus 11x squared minus 12x minus 17x squared plus 5x cubed plus 12x. I will have kids, we're just so hell-bent on multiplying things together after getting through a few sections of chapter 5, they'll try to multiply these together. It just says this minus this, or this plus this. Just combine like terms, okay? And to combine like terms, every time I run into a plus or a minus, it's a new term. All you do is combine the boxes. Sort your Legos. Which ones go into the same bucket? First of all, who's my big dog? Okay. So 11x to the 4th goes out front. 5x cubed. Okay, combine like terms, minus 6x squared. And those just cancel out. That's important because if I didn't do that, I would have had way more terms. Now that I'm here, by degree, what is it called? Quartic. And because there are 3 terms, trinomial. Okay. Where do you find all of that? Okay. Big old table, first page of your note packet. Okay. If I got factors, I can make a polynomial. So now it's the reverse. Start multiplying. I know x minus 2 and x plus 2. So that's this and this. I know x minus 3 and x plus 4 are all 4 of my linear factors. Now I just multiply them. Just like I wouldn't say 3 times 4 times 5, I wouldn't call that 12 times 15. Right? You don't distribute across multiplication signs. So just multiply together 2 things that you know, 2 things that you know, then multiply those. So we're going to go with x minus 2 times x plus 2. X times the stuff. Negative 2 times the stuff is x squared plus 2x minus 2x minus 4. X squared minus 4. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Also, they're conjugates, so you just know it's going to end up as a difference of squares. Next up is x times the stuff, negative 3 times the stuff. X squared plus 4x and negative 3x minus 12 is x squared plus x minus 12. Now I need to multiply together those. X squared times the stuff is x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd minus 12x squared. Negative 4 times the stuff is negative 4x squared minus 4x plus 48. Combine like terms. This one ended up nice because this was a binomial instead of trinomial up front. No guarantees about that on your quiz. You might have trinomial and trinomial. It just adds one more line of multiplication. I just don't remember. So I'll say f of x is x to the fourth plus x to the third minus 16x squared minus 4x plus 48. Oh, it also says of least degree with integer coefficients. Means you shouldn't have any fractions or decimals in here when you're done. They should all be pretty. Might be big numbers, but pretty big numbers. Okay? Like a really handsome man who's 400 pounds in a nice suit. Okay? He's still pretty. Like, y'all are too young. You probably don't know Michael Clark Duncan. Oh. He played the Kingpin in Daredevil. Dude was massive. He was a big Papa Bear in Armageddon. I'm talking about 90s movies. Never mind. The dude was gigantic. He was like 420 pounds, like 6'6", just a monolith of a man. But he was a good-looking dude. He always wore like really sharp suits and stuff. Yeah. Write a polynomial in factored form. Ah, it's not factored.
Take out an x.
Okay. Factor that quadratic however you're going to factor it. You might need to go full AC method on it. 4 times 6, or negative 6, is negative 24. What factors of negative 24 add up to my middle term of 5? Okay. So I've got x, 4x squared, plus 8x minus 3x minus 6. I suppose I should shift this all over, right? I can't. Yes, I can. I have a smartboard. There we go. Cut it in half. So I've got, what do these two have in common?
4x.
Leaving. There you go. What do these two have in common?
3.
Negative 3. That's important, so that I have a x plus 2 left over. They got an x plus 2 in common, leaving a 4x and a negative 3. Don't forget your kid brother at Burger King. So where's my zeros at? Negative 2. 0. Oh, hey, cool. 3/4 and 0. Oh, I didn't hear the 0 part. I just heard the negative 2. Okay. I was distracted by literally shiny. So 0, negative 2, and 3/4. So I will make dots at 0, negative 2, 3/4. Leading term. Positive x to the odd. Where does this thing start? Down at negative infinity. Where does it end? Okay. And I already know my y-intercept because one of my zeros was at 0, 0. So I just need to find out how high does it go and how low does it go. Get that calculator out. Remember, when we're going to find our extrema, our minimum and maximum, we're going to find them correctly. Okay. I go to y is clear, clear. And we've got, what was it, 4x to the third plus what? 5x squared minus 6x. Okay. 5x squared minus 6x. Okay, and I will calculate a maximum. Second, calculate my maximum. I had already done that. -2 to 0 here. Press button. So when you plot these, I want you to write this. I want you to say approximately -1.237, 7.502. Robert, get help. Calculate minimum somewhere between 0 and 2. And 0.404, error, -1.344. Thousandths place, always 3 places. I never care what the directions in our book say, I always go 3 places, because back in the day when I had geometry, I had kids who could not work with expressions in their algebra. They just couldn't. And so I tested and tested and tested, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I found that in our problems, if we went out to the thousandths place, we were still pretty accurate in our final answer. But if we went to the tenths or the hundredths, it wasn't quite there. Sometimes we would have a volume that was 100,000 off. Go away! I had him all last year. Okay, algebra. So, Robert's a good guy. Okay, plot those 2 points, make sure that you label them correctly, go out to the thousandths place, connect the dots, you're good to go. And solve by factoring, I have no guarantees what kind of factoring you will see. It might be quadratic form, it might be sum or difference of cubes, it might be factoring by grouping, it's going to be something. Okay? In this particular case, this is set up like quadratic form. What factors of 40 add up to -13? No. So, but x squareds. It's always going to match whatever that middle term is. Now, those are both difference of squares. So I can factor them both as difference of squares. Now, this might not have a perfect square, but I can still say x plus square root of 5, x minus square root of 5. What will this one be? And no, it's not square root of 8. 2 root of 2. You have to simplify your radicals. Maybe that's a note to put on there. If there's radicals, make sure they're simplified. Okay, yeah, this is a way. This is one way to do it. I can go from here to difference of squares. What's different if it's sum of squares? I's. You just have i's in there. Now the other version of this is once I get to yellow, I could also say x squared minus 8 equals 0, like this. Either way, you're still getting to the answers, right? Either way, you had to start by factoring this. You're not getting there until you do this. You're not getting to green or blue until you do yellow. Yellow is the required factoring. Okay? I will not. I have to hand things out. Devices, over there. Y'all know the drill. And let's get y'all going, because we did get interrupted.